Vampire War for the Second City is a Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition actual play podcast presented by DM Fiat, with I, Dale, as storyteller. Please be advised that this podcast contains descriptions of gore, depravity, addiction, coercion, and other adult themes. This is not D&D. This is a game where we play monsters of the night who do monstrous things. They're all around you. Welcome back, everyone, to the next session of our Vampire War for the Second City campaign. Tonight's episode is part 2 of Bloody but Unbowed. It is titled Gilding the Lily. You have arrived at Club Violet in the Melbourne Docklands and found, well, an abattoir within. Mutilated corpses, blood so thick that it comes nearly up to your ankles, especially now that Hope lit a small fire within the venue and caused the sprinklers to douse the scene in water. You're all currently standing in a disgusting, murky mixture of blood and water. The 4 thin bloods that had been left at the scene as an impromptu booby trap have been subdued. Well, the 2 surviving ones, I should say. And just as you've decided to confer, to figure out what to do with them, the thick doors have burst open, and Sheriff Adiz has stepped in, followed by Larson, Squizzy's scourge. Larson has looked around, sniffed the blood in the air, narrowed his eyes, staring at the staked, torpid thin bloods at your feet, and simply said, you've got some gifts for me.
Absolutely. Help yourself, please.
Oh, indeed I will, he says. He looks over at Vincent and he flashes a jovial smile and he says, "Good when those beneath you know their place. I'll put in a good word for you later." And then he steps forwards, his thick combat boots squelching in the murky blood water. Adiz steps forwards, holds out a hand, and he says, "Hang on. We gotta question them first. Find out if they know anything at all. Can't just let you destroy them, and I know that's what you're here to do. Your reputation precedes you, and wasn't that long ago that the Office of Scourge was still in effect, after all."
Oh, is that what a scourge does?
Dees looks over his shoulder at you, Hope. He says, if you didn't know, indeed, Larson's job, or at least it used to be his main purpose in the court, was to dispatch unauthorized embraces, particularly thin bloods. See, there was a time when Squizzy, no, indeed most of the Camarilla, believed thin bloods to be a harbinger of the end times. And so Larson here had free rein to do whatever he wished to them, so long as he dispatched them, and, well, he looks over at Larson. The two eye each other off, and then Adi stands firm and says, "What I hear, Larson here really enjoyed it. He was a bit of a sick puppy." Larson smiles at this, chuckles under his breath, and he looks over at you and he says, "Yes, and I rarely get to do it these days. And the last unauthorized embraces, well, let's say Squizzy took a liking to them." He looks into your eyes and then he says, "Step aside."
Vincent sort of has this flashes a smile, like a knowing smile, understanding that they are all unplanned embraces.
Yes.
I mean, they kind of are part of an ongoing investigation. Are you sure do you have to do this now, or can we get some answers first?
He just shrugs and he says, "Not sure what information you're expecting to get from them. They were embraced this very night. They're not going to know anything. Best to put them out of their misery before they cause more troubles. I am the Scourge. Squizzy has given me the authority to remove these thin bloods before they continue to be a threat to the Masquerade, and might I point out that, as an establishment within the rack, we are standing within Squizzy's domain right now."
I know,
Makes
sir.
sense to me. I don't think they saw anything that the cameras didn't.
I know, sir. I'm just trying to figure this out because the prince told us to chase this down and we need to cover every angle. Just let me confer.
I would like you, Hope, to please do a manipulation persuasion check.
Okay.
Is your angle here?
I'm not trying too hard on this.
No, but you are still trying to give him, get him to give you a second to
It's
at
like,
least discuss
whoa,
these.
man, slow your roll. Give me a sec here. 2 successes.
2 successes? He glances at the 2 torpid thin blood lying in the murky water.
I mean, they're not going anywhere.
He shrugs and he says, "Fine. If you want to talk about it, discuss your options, go ahead. I'll give you 5 minutes." And then he turns his back to you, faces Adiz, and as the 4 of you huddle around, you just hear Adiz say, "Correction, this is not Squizzy's domain. This nightclub, unless I'm much mistaken, is the domain and business of the Toreador Primogen, Maria Diamante, and, well, by now she will have heard what has happened, and she might even be on her way here. So let's not jump the gun, Larson?"
Okay, guys, what do we want to happen here?
Protect. They're just thin bloods.
Okay.
Okay.
Sylvia? Oh, Derek, sorry.
That's what.
I was just gonna say maybe we should at least ask them some questions before anything happens.
Alright, Derek?
Yeah. We should probably ask them questions. Maybe they saw the person a bit better or something like that. But it's also
Alright.
She's on tape. You saw it yourself. What have they seen?
Actually, I'm the only one who's seen that, but yeah.
Yeah.
Tapes are blank.
Now they are, yes.
The ones in the nightclub, I've got the only evidence. See, I'm kind of torn.
No, I think they might be useful in some way.
So you think they might be useful?
I've never fully agreed with the whole rampant slaughter, the whole in-killing that Kindred Society has. We have enough problems with the SI and all that.
Yeah, and Derek in particular, you know that Thin Bloods do happen to be quite adept at passing as human, barely being vampires as they are, so could be some potential for some sleeper agents you could train up there if you can convince Larson to leave them in your care.
I've got to admit I'm torn. Because this is almost exactly like my own little initiation. With a few caveats. Which I feel for them, I really do. But on the other hand, it's almost a mercy if they don't have to go through this shit. Like you said, Sylvia.
At that...
How about we toss a coin? And then if it's heads, we try to spare them. If it's tails, we just let Larson do his thing, but question them first.
No, I don't want to do that shit.
Well,
see,
so how about... Okay, so first, did anyone else find anything?
I did. I've got her face, I know which way she went, I know where she went. But I don't know where she went from there.
So, I mean, would we be opposed to using that as a bargaining chip for letting the other two live?
Yeah, I
we
mean,
let Larson go after the thief, and he gets the painting back for the prince instead. Leaves the two Thin Bloods alone.
Such pity for filth. They're barely unkind.
Buddy, look, listen, we're not into the whole mass murder thing, okay?
Just pest control.
We're dead, we're not monsters.
Wow.
We're not monsters, aren't we?
I disagree with that. We're all monsters because another monster thought we'd make a good monster. But there's a difference between, I don't know, getting by and getting your jollies on this shit. And that kind of rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah.
Speaking of monsters, Derek, you found something quite interesting last session. Would you like to use this opportunity to show it to the group as you asked, did anyone find anything?
Also show the... It was like a sack made of flesh or something.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
like a little water skin made of flesh. And as you reach into your trench coat and pull it out, you see Hope's eyes grow wide. Hope, you instantly recognize what this is. This is a product of fleshcraft. At first, it resembles a little water skin, but you quickly recognize that it is made of human flesh, and indeed... that's clever. Derek holds it in his hand, only barely visible in the flickering lights of the nightclub. You see the flesh subtly pulsate, vibrate, and you realize this is...
It's alive.
A portable heart.
Awesome.
And it is alive.
So I don't know the proper name for it, but I'm betting that thing is like keeps blood fresh and circulating till you're ready to feast.
Indeed, that seems to be its likely purpose.
It's a snack pack.
This one appears to be empty as Derek lifts it up, turns it upside down and squeezes it. A couple drops of blood drop out of a little valve that opens on the surface with a sickening squelch. But nothing more.
May I have that? I could maybe look into this. I got some medical skills.
Yeah, sure.
Huh. Okay. So, basically, let's see. You want us to tell Larson, hey, the thief went that way, she looked like this, we were going to pursue her, but then the Thin Bloods came up and we kind of wanted to interrogate them. But it's your choice, man. You can stay here and kill them and we'll go after the thief, or you can go after the thief and we'll interrogate the Thin Bloods. Is that what you're saying, Derek?
I mean, not necessarily using it straight up. I mean, we can tell him we know where she's going. But, like, yeah, if we think that might work as a reasonable way of getting him... Sorry? Yeah,
what do you guys think?
Getting him to leave.
Should we
That's
do
a good
that?
idea. Yeah, sounds good.
All right. It doesn't go directly against him, and it puts the choice in his hands.
Yeah. So you whirl around just in time to hear Larson saying, that harpy. All she cares about is court politics and gossip. She doesn't even need to know there were Thin Bloods here. As if she even grasps the implications of what happened tonight. Ah! I see you've finished conferring. Finish your little group huddle. So, what's the go? Am I going to put them out of their misery, or are we going to make another foolish attempt at haggling?
Well, we've actually got a time crunch here. We'd love to interrogate them, get more information, know where we're going after. Problem is the thief is fast. We know which way she went and we know the route she took, but she's escaping quick. We could try to get her on a trailer and interrogate them, but we're not sure we're fast enough to follow her, so...
Raises an eyebrow and he says, oh? And how exactly would you know where she went? Had a quick look in the back room while you were discussing what to do with... And the D's here showed me that the tapes, the security footage is blank.
Yep, I flip a float and drive up and catch it in midair. You're welcome.
He smiles. Ah, good thinking. You might amount to something yet.
Black-haired female. Was wearing a jacket. I just give him a quick description. Went that way, hit the river, dove in, and swum.
In the river, he says.
Yeah.
Unorthodox, but I suppose...
Took the painting with her, too.
Got the painting, and yet... if she's going to protect it from water damage... He trails off as he thinks what to do, and then he says, well... She won't get far, not when I call all of my friends in after her. So, the Thin Bloods. What exactly are you hoping to get from them?
She dismantled this entire club, and they are we're all kind, sure, but she was a killing machine, so we're hoping we can find some weakness, get a little more information before we go up against her, because we're not quite as strong as you. Like, if you want to go after her, you should be mulch, I'm sure. But we want to try and get an edge. And I'm telling the truth on that one.
He shrugs and he says, well... You've been kind enough to give me her description of where she went. It's almost as if you're wanting me to go after her, so I don't see the need to try to find a weakness, but go ahead, Hope, and please make a manipulation persuasion check.
Alright. Not my best, but I'll give it a shot. Only one success.
Only one
I give a shrug.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
I'm going to roll for him, so that's going to be... It's just going to be a straight resolve plus politics check for him. And he gets 4 successes, so you take 3 points of superficial willpower damage.
Damn it.
He just glowers right at you, shooting you completely down.
And I'm at 0.
Yeah, so you're impaired now, and he...
Am I? Ooh.
Yeah, you're impaired. If your willpower's at 0, you are now impaired. And at least until you can get it back.
See, this is what I didn't want to happen.
Yeah. He just glowers at you, and then he shrugs and he says, I don't see the need. After all, in your own words, I'm much stronger than you, more than capable of dispatching this thief without much trouble. But perhaps your friends might have some good reasons as to why I should, as Adiz says, not jump the gun. He glares at Sylvia, Derek, and Vincent.
Well, if I'm honest with you, I was thinking, my thinking was going more towards after this investigation, after we've caught this thief. But having 2 properly trained thin bloods around when we know the SI are running around would be a lot more useful than you think.
Sounds like a security hazard.
So, Derek, I would like you to please make a manipulation and persuasion, or manipulation plus occult check.
It's both the same, so I'll go persuasion, why not? That is 3 successes.
3 to Larson's 1 success. He takes 2 points of superficial willpower damage. And then he raises his right eyebrow and he says, didn't think of that. You say they can pose as human. You would have them infiltrate the SI. Is that what you're getting at?
Something along those lines, yes.
And who would train them? I mean, I can't do it. I can't stand to be in the presence of them. And the prince certainly does not have time to shepherd thin bloods around.
Well, if it helps take it off your mind, I will gladly take them under my wing, as it were. If nothing else, you know where they are.
Good point. And, well, if the Chantry is good at anything, it's good at indoctrinating little puppets to follow exactly what Professor Cypher says, so, And you in particular, if the things I've heard about your little church are true, yes, it could work, but we already have an insider in the SI. We already have Martin, and Hope here convinced me to spare Martin last time, so I must confess I don't see the point in having more potential security breaches. He gestures towards Vincent. Vincent here is much aligned with me, I think. The more people we have in the SI, the more chances for them to be flipped against us. I don't suppose you have any contingencies in place that would prevent this from happening?
I mean, if I'm being honest, not at the moment, but I'm sure that's something that can be worked out. But I mean, yeah, we know the SI are running around. I don't see why we need more infighting amongst ourselves. Just making their job easier for them.
Please make a manipulation, persuasion, or charisma politics check.
It's oddly about the same. Three successes again.
3 successes and a bestial failure from Larson.
Ooh.
You impress upon him the need to be united.
And he's a brewer.
that more help, more potential agents within the SI could not possibly be a bad thing. And after all, they're thin bloods. If they turn against you, they're easily dealt with. He could do it himself if he so wishes. He bares his teeth, and you see his hands clench into fists. His body vibrates, and then he slams a fist on the crumbling bar behind him, reducing it to matchwood. He makes a movement, stepping forwards towards one of the thin bloods. Adiz moves like a blur, holding out a hand, grabbing Larson by the shoulder, restraining him. Larson's eyes are bloodshot, his face contorted in rage. He loses 3 points of willpower and he is impaired. It takes a few minutes for him to calm himself as Adiz holds him in place. He looks over at you, Derek, baring his teeth, and he says, "Oh, I should rip your head off right here, you insolent neonate, puppet of Professor Cypher. You wouldn't know the first thing about what Squizzy does to keep everyone here safe." Takes a deep breath, and then he says, "Fine. Thin bloods live for the time being. But I wash my hands of this ordeal. Let's see you catch the thief. Let's see you bring the painting back. And if you don't, it's on your heads. I'll simply tell Squizzy I was unable to locate her myself. Thin blood scum have a way of fading away into the shadows. Lots of little friends among the anarchs, and, well, an upstanding servant of the Camarilla like myself would be hard-pressed to scratch the surface of that mess."
Yeah, okay. Whatever helps you sleep during the day.
He glares at you, bares his teeth once more, and then he pulls himself out of Adiz's grasp, and he says, "I'll see you at Elysium later. Squizzy's called an emergency meeting on account of what's happened. National Gallery of Victoria, Toreador Domain. Primogen herself will be there, eagerly awaiting to hear what happened to her precious club. I'll see you there when you turn up and tell Squizzy you couldn't get the painting back, and I will enjoy watching you be punished." And then without saying anything more, he turns, steps out into the night, pulling the doors shut behind him with a loud slam. Adiz lets this hang on the air for a moment, and then he looks over at you, visibly wincing. "Oh, well, got Larson out of our hair. On the other hand, we no longer have any help and have to do this all ourselves."
So what the fuck else is new?
Yeah.
At this, Adiz just smiles and he says, "Hey, look, take it from me, Larson would have just gotten in the way. Much better that we can deal with this ourselves. Find out why this girl did what she did. Larson would just paste her all over the concrete moment he found her."
Yeah, he doesn't seem the thinking type.
Yeah, you got that right. Why he's the Scourge and not the Sheriff like me? Speaking of which, I hope you're ready to ask questions. He takes a step forward, standing over one of the thin bloods, holds out his wrist.
You guys can take care of this. Okay, I'll go take 5. I need to... I'll be outside.
Hope's looking particularly shaken after that ordeal.
This is a whole lot of shit I didn't need tonight.
Adiz reaches for his belt, pulls out a penknife, flips the blade open, and slices his skin, allowing the blood to flow free. Holds it over the thin blood and allows the blood to drop into this unfortunate creature's mouth. Immediately,
and I'll walk out while he's doing this.
Yeah. And
call a friend.
As the thin blood gasps and sits upright, Hope, you step out into the night, pulling the doors shut behind you. Hope, you pull out your phone, and who do you dial?
I am calling Don.
Calling Don.
I need a whole dose if I don't give a fuck and life's okay. Shit happens right now.
So as you dial Don's number, please explain who he is, as I don't believe he has appeared yet.
So, Hope met Don through Sage. Don wears a mohawk. He is in his 60s. And he wears a mohawk. Don doesn't get out too much at raves anymore ever since the drugs did a number on his bones. He forgot to eat a whole bunch. The malnutrition got him. Don is the happiest man in the world. He kicks back. He's got a solid crew of friends he supports with. He's in great pain. He doesn't care. He's still alive. He doesn't expect to be. He's got the Keith Richards effect going on. He figures so many drugs he's preserved himself. And Don is just one of life's philosophers who always has time to shoot the breeze.
So you stand there on the edge of the wharf overlooking the inky black void that is the Yarra River. And you dial Don's number, the phone rings through once, twice, and then you hear a wheezing breath. And then it turns into jovial laughter. Hope, my girl, what's up?
Don, oh my god, man, it has been a night. You know that asshole I told you about last time?
Oh yeah, that Larson fucker. In your hair again.
Oh my god, he fucking can't stay away. Oh, walking around compensating like a son of a bitch.
Oh yeah, I bet he's got it. I bet he's compensating. You haven't managed to catch a glimpse of what he drives yet, have you? Because I bet it's like, you know, I bet whatever he drives pimped out to, you know, the nth degree. He's probably got custom rims. He's probably got a spoiler as taller than the car.
I don't know what he drives, but I know what's driven, and that's a stake up his ass.
He chuckles. Oh, look, Hope, don't let him bother you too much. As you said, he thinks he's got some sort of position of power. He's gonna lord it over you. Just let him play his power games, do your own thing, and at the end, when the time comes for credit to be given where it's due, you'll be the one who benefits, while he gets nothing because he was too busy swinging his dick around.
I mean, that's... Yeah, the funny thing is, you know, last time we met him, I saw flashes. There was something in him that said he could maybe transcend that, but this guy needs a fucking stepladder because he can't get over himself. I don't know.
Hey, you know, you and Sage have said the exact same thing about him now. So I think he needs 2 stepladders.
Jam them up there with a stick. Make them walk a little straighter, maybe. I don't know.
Look, I get the impression that you're doing something important tonight, and
trying to.
He's got in the way. He's tried to be trouble, but now he's stomped off. He can't get over himself, and he's going to go wallow in his own ego for a bit. So, hey, that leaves the road free for you to do what you gotta do, my girl.
Thanks, man. Gotta keep eyes on the prize.
Eyes on the prize. and then he hangs up with a click. You feel slightly better hearing Don's pep talk, and you recover a single point of superficial or aggravated willpower damage.
I'll take it.
You take a deep breath. You set your mind at ease slightly, and then you turn and re-enter the club.
Meanwhile,
you step inside to see the thin blood thrashing around, screaming, "Ah! As Adiz tries to hold him in place. Evidently no questioning has happened yet, as the thin blood is still in the throes of frenzy. Adiz has him in a headlock, his arm wrapped around the thin blood's neck, holding him in place. He looks deep into the thin blood's eyes, and he says, "Settle the fuck down, or I'll put you back to sleep, and this time you won't wake up. We're trying to save your life, you understand?" The thin blood continues to thrash. He may need some further prodding.
Vincent's hand rests on his gun.
Of course. Would anyone else like to step up?
Yeah, Derek will step up and just sort of like snap his fingers a couple of times in front of the thin blood to try and get his attention. And then once he makes eye contact, he just goes, "Calm down."
Yep. All right. So you step forwards where Deez has got this man with the mohawk in his blood-soaked metal t-shirt held in place. You snap your finger a few times until he looks in your direction, bares his teeth, looks at you with hungry eyes, and you look straight into them. Tell him to calm down. Please rouse your blood.
Yeah, there's a fail, so I get hungrier.
Hungrier. You see his bloodshot eyes relax ever so slightly. He stops thrashing, though he's not entirely still. He's twitching, shaking like a caffeine addict who hasn't had their 5th coffee for the morning. And he looks back into your eyes, and then the look of savage hunger shifts to one of terror. He looks from left to right, opens his mouth, and lets out a terrified scream. "Ah! What is this? What's happening to me?" Adiz leans over and he says, "Are you going to try to bite me again?" The man with the mohawk looks up into Adiz's face. He says, no, just whatever you are, don't hurt me. What's happening?" Adiz nods, releases the man from his grasp, and then he falls in a heap at your feet, weeping in the murky water. This continues for a couple of moments until his sobs stop, and then he pulls himself into a kneeling position before you, looks silently at you all, and then he says, You're like her, the one who did this to me, aren't you?"
You could say that.
"Oh God, you're here to finish me off, aren't you?"
No, that would have been the other guy's job, but you weren't awake for that, so don't worry about it.
The man looks back at you. He says, "So, if you're not here to kill me, then you're here to help me. This hunger, this feeling inside me, what is this? You're here to help me. You're here to turn me back to normal, aren't you?"
Yeah, so you're gonna be learning a lot soon. But first, we've got some questions about the woman from earlier, what you remember.
As you say this, the man is silent. He stares back at you, and then his jaw drops open, and he runs his hand over his mohawk, and then he says, Oh my god. I'm gonna be learning some things. Holy shit. He looks back at you, he says, I knew it. She's a fucking vampire. And you're all vampires, and now I'm a vampire too. Aren't I?
Yeah, technically speaking.
He lowers his hand over his forehead, and then he just sits there for a moment, laughing. Of course. First gig since I get out of rehab. I get turned into a fucking vampire. Of course.
Vincent steps forward at this point at the idea of him being turned into a vampire. We, what you call vampires, we're kindred. You are runoff. Okay? You are not like us.
Oh, lovely. I'm at the bottom of the totem pole. Cursed!
So it turns out vampire racism is a thing. Just don't let it bother you much.
Don't mind him, he's new. New to our group.
The man looks to his right where the woman in the purple dress lies, still torpid, and he says, So, her, she's like me, I guess, and the other two who bought it during the scuffle?
Oh, you remember that. Okay.
Flashes here and there. He looks over at you, he says, Look, I'm sorry for trying to bite you, okay? It just
That's alright.
woke up, something took over, and it's like I need to explain. You probably know exactly what I'm going through.
Oh, yeah.
He says, well, if I'm going to be stuck like this, creature of the night, and at the bottom of the totem pole, to be exact, then yeah, I want that bitch who did this to me to pay. So go ahead, man. What do you need to know?
Alright. So we saw her come in through that door. When did you notice her?
He says, I don't think anyone noticed her till it all started. We don't see where she came in from. She was moving so fast, it was hard to even keep your gaze on her until she stopped to deal with someone. Every time she moved, it was like she was a blur. First I knew something was wrong was when I heard someone next to me screaming. I look over my shoulder and there she is. She's ripping some girl's head off, and man, her nails, they were like claws, like easily the length of her fingers. She had them dug deep into that girl's neck, and it was like she was using them to pry her head right off her shoulders. Ugh. He closes his eyes and winces, reliving the memory. When she was done, she would just stand there, let the blood splurt, let it spray all over her face. Relishing it, she'd lick her lips as it ran down her face, and then she'd move on to the next person, and the next.
Yeah, that's fucked up, man.
He says that's all I can tell you. It happened so quickly. I tried to run away, but she was way too fast. I swear that bitch can cross a whole room in a second. Thought I was making good ground. She was busy with someone else. Was running past the bar into the back room. Thought I'd call the police or something. She caught up to me, man, in the blink of an eye, and that was it. Game over.
So there is he then.
Oh yeah.
Indeed.
She's terrifying on the footage. You want to see it?
He looks back at you and he just says,
Not you.
yeah.
I play the recording. I pipe to my phone.
Everyone gathers around, watches the recording of the
And I'll
woman.
pass the thumb drive over to the sheriff.
Dees takes it and smiles, and then as you all gather around Hope, who's holding her phone out, and you watch the footage of this girl, this creature, massacring everyone in the span of a couple of seconds. Dees steps over to the woman in the purple dress. Out of the corner of your eye, you see him hold out his wrist and the knife, and then as you watch the footage, you hear splashing and screaming. Ah! Ah!
Here we go again.
Rises in frenzy. This time Dees wastes no time. He pins her to the ground, sticks his knife in her chest, causing her to gasp in pain, and then looks into her eyes and says, "Settle down." And just as you finish watching the footage, he pulls his knife out of the woman's chest, grabs her by the shoulders, raises her into a kneeling position before you, and says, "Just in time. This fine young lady is ready to answer some questions." She looks at you, looks at the man with the mohawk next to her, knows that something is clearly wrong with her. And then she just looks at you and she says, "The person who did this to me, I'll do anything to help you bring them to justice."
Cool. What
Before
did you
that,
see?
any reactions? Does anyone have any reactions to the footage that Hope has showed you?
Did we spot anything that might reveal any more information about?
So I would like Sylvia, Derek, and Vincent to please make a wits awareness, a wits investigation check, please.
Investigation.
This should be interesting.
One success.
One success.
2 successes.
So I only have one die. I was only rolling one die, which is a bestial failure.
Bestial failure.
Oh.
Okay. So
Uh-oh.
2 successes from Sylvia
I didn't like that
and
bird.
Vincent. So you notice something briefly in the footage, and that is, in the midst of all this chaos, the assailant stops by the bar, and up until this point, it looks as if she's dispatching people with her bare hands, dislocating their shoulders, slashing their faces, punching them with such force that their necks snap and they buckle over.
Potions?
But when she stops in front of the bar, she reaches into the folds of her leather jacket and pulls out what you recognize as the so-called portable heart, the snack pack. She raises it to her mouth and squeezes the blood out of it, swallowing it whole. Then she holds out her hand and you see her fingernails instantly extend, turning into prehensile claws. She tosses the snack pack onto the bar and then returns to the dance floor to continue her massacre. And before you have a chance to discuss this, you see the man with the mohawk leaning into the woman in the purple dress, whisper something in her ear. You see her eyes go wide, her mouth drop open, and her stammer the word, "Vampires?" And at this, Derek, you absolutely lose it. You realise these two, they're in over their head, and now they're yours, and your beast roars within you, so you lurch forward, snatch the phone out of Hope's hand, and toss it to the floor. It shatters into 100 pieces.
Fuck my life. Well, glad that was a burner.
You see one large chunk of the phone remaining, the battery. You step forward, crush it underfoot, Derek, and feeling it being crushed into dirt under your heavy boots, you feel yourself growing calmer.
Good work, Big Shot. You did it.
You done?
Yeah, sorry, I don't know what happened there.
No, beast shit, I imagine. It's been a
When
night.
was the last time you ate?
Angry, yeah. Okay.
So the thin-blood woman in the purple dress kneels there, and having seen this display of what the beast could do, she's just utterly speechless. Not even shaking like the guy with the mohawk. She's just absolutely unnaturally still, completely terrified.
Okay. Quick questions. Did you see anything that's beyond the lady killing anyone? Killing like everyone? Was there any, I don't know, distinguishing marks, anything that struck you as odd?
Beyond that,
yeah, I know it.
She thinks for a moment and she says, leather jacket.
Okay.
Something written on the back. She raises a finger to her head. She says, oh, I could barely see it. She was moving so fast, but I... Holds out her finger. Motley Crue, Melbourne, 1990.
Ooh. Okay.
She says, I saw her take the painting off the wall. Something took over me. I'd seen what she'd done so far, but it was like when she took this painting off the wall, that was like the ultimate insult. She did all this, ruined our night by killing everybody, and then she had the gall to lay her hands on that classic, that Sidney Nolan. And so I said, hey, put that back. And she just looked at me and she said, no, this is a present for my friend. And then, well, I suppose if I wasn't sitting here with you now, that would have been the last thing I saw.
You should have been a Toreador.
She looks at you and she says, Toreador.
Don't concern yourself.
It's a long story.
Hey, if she plays her cards right, she might be.
The one with the mohawk just looks at her and he says, don't worry about it. Apparently we're at the bottom of the totem pole.
It's a long story. Thank you for this. This helps. Motley Crue 1990 is definitely a lead. See, the problem is she jumped in the river. I don't know when she got out of the river. So...
Thin Bloods look at each other, and then the one with the mohawk says, the Yarra just out the back?
Oh, yeah.
Well, assuming she walks in a straight line, she's going to be coming out somewhere in South Bank.
All right.
Oh, actually, how is Motley Crue spelled?
Motleycrue.
Asking her.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is what she just looks up and says, didn't think I'd find another fan after all this time, but yeah, that's it. That's how it's spelled.
Oh, that's a classic.
Good to know.
Okay. No, this is really helpful. I guess we're going to have to. When exactly did she go on the rampage? Has it been like an hour or two?
Yeah, it'd have been about an hour at most since the call went out.
And it's somewhere around like 11 or 12 right now, I'm betting.
Yeah, shy of midnight. A little bit shy of midnight. About 11:30 p.m.
Okay, logistics guys. We need to get on this trail. And there's been an Elysium called. We need results tonight. I look at Adiz. What do you think? Do we have time to, go top off and pick up better hardware, or do we need to hit it now?
Dees shrugs. He says, Well, she said it's a gift for a friend. That implies she has a destination in mind, which means we've got to get to her before she gets there. She already has a head start. This is the rack, though. If you find suitable prey along the way, go ahead. He says, I'll assist you as best I can. He says, but there's a couple things we have to deal with. One, we have to find out where she would have most likely come ashore. Two, what's going to happen with these guys?
Yeah, Derek, what's going to happen with these guys? Because I was going to call them an Uber and arrange a hotel room, but I don't have a phone, Derek.
You're going to arrange them, or are you going to let them go?
Nope.
No, I was...
But I mean, that was my plan. But I'm not in charge of this here op.
Dees looks at you, and he reaches into his pocket and pulls out a very old burner phone. It's so old, he hands it over to you, and you notice that on the screen is a pixelated black and white image of a scantily clad woman.
Oh my god, I love it.
Just call whoever you need, but remember, whatever number you call is stored in memory.
Yeah, and you'll need this one back. First it's up to Derek, though. My plan was Uber, hotel room, pick him up later. But, if you've got a different plan, Derek, I'm all ears. Actually, you could send him to the church.
Yes, I could. I was maybe thinking for the first night we maybe send them to the red room. What was it? The red room?
The Red Star.
The Red Star.
Jackie and Sage.
Yeah.
I wouldn't leave them unattended. That seems wise.
Actually, they wouldn't be over there. Okay.
Yeah, Jackie and Sage did see you through your first night, so...
Just at least till we get things here done, and then I'll fill them in and all that.
Alright. I hand him the phone. Cool, man. Here's the number. I rattled off.
So bearing in mind that you were using the sheriff's phone to call the Red Star, Derek, you dial the number...
I'm
were gonna...
not making the call, I'll just use my phone.
You just use your phone, yep. Yeah. So you hand the phone back to the sheriff, pull out your phone, dial the number. It rings for a moment, and then there's a click. You hear the voice of Sage. It's been a while since you personally have spoken to her, but there's no forgetting that very distinct voice of hers. She says, our resident Tremere. Been sniffing Professor Cypher's butt lately. What can I do for you?
So... kind of...
I assume he's not on speaker or anything.
Oh, if he wants to, he can.
No, don't put it on speaker. The sheriff's right there.
Yeah.
So, kind of in the middle of a job at the moment, and some things have happened, but I now acquired 2 thin bloods who are going to need somewhere for the day. Would it be
thin
possible?
Bloods, she says. And let me guess, Larson's out for their blood?
He was, but I've managed to successfully talk him away for the moment.
And you thought, since Jackie and I put you up on your first night, that they would be safe here, right?
That's what I was hoping.
Well, you see, taking on thin bloods... Cam don't like thin bloods, and as long as that monkey Larson has any power in the Cam court, thin bloods are dangerous. which means I'm going to have to pull some strings to keep them hidden, which means if I do this, you owe me. You cool with that?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Alright. One boon. I'll call it in when I feel it is necessary. No backing out, capiche?
Yeah.
Alright, send them my way, and, well, I'll give them a good feed, teach them the basics, and, show them why maybe it's in their best interest to throw their lot in with us and bash some cam fash. Alright, you have a good night, friendo. Yeah. I look forward to seeing him. And then there's a click and the phone line goes dead.
Alright.
Vincent eyes the phone, sort of suspicious about the fact that that wasn't on speaker.
Yeah. Especially as...
Cool.
You don't know who Sage is. You've heard her name mentioned. You've never seen her in Elysium. And the prevailing rumour is that she's Anarch adjacent, if not Anarch herself. Of course, nobody would openly be Anarch in Squizzy's domain, but, you have a sneaking suspicion who Derek called.
Keep it to myself for now.
Cool. So we need to get to South Bank.
The D shrugs. Yeah, thereabouts, but maybe we can narrow it down a bit more.
And we need to feed as we go. Narrow it down. What are you thinking, Adiz?
He steps over to the doorway behind the bar and he says, when I was in there with Larson before, found something interesting, might help. Come, let's have a look. He leads you all into the back office. He walks up to the desk and pulls open the drawer, begins rifling through the contents, and there, next to the computer monitor, he lays out an old street map of Melbourne CBD. He says, it's a couple years out of date, but I figure we might find some likely candidates where she'd have come ashore. Runs his finger along the Yarra River and then points at where the club would be. He says, so she's gone into the water here. Now, I suspect she's melding with the earth to get under the water. Sure, we don't have to breathe, but currents, water pressure, that's still a thing. Walking along the bottom of a riverbed, that's some pretty heavy pressure. So she's going to be melding with the earth, which means she can't see, which means she's most likely going to be going in a straight line. So, you all gather around the map, and I would like anyone who'd like to try to divulge where she may have come ashore to please make an intelligence investigation check.
Who's got good dice for that?
Not me.
Yeah, I got 2.
Adiz will be
3.
assisting, so Adiz will add 1 bonus dice to whoever rolls.
Not me. I got 3.
I also have 3.
It sounds like it might have to be one of you two then.
Yep. Might have to rouse the blood.
Oh, Lord.
I have 2.
I can roll. I don't mind.
Go ahead,
Please
Sylvia.
I will rouse. That's a success.
Success. As the resident med student, you're probably the smartest, so the one most likely to glean any useful info.
Yes, my biomed degree.
Yeah.
2 successes, unfortunately.
2 successes. Okay. Instead of Adiz giving a bonus dice, I'll just get him to roll on his own in that case.
Oh,
That's 3 successes plus 2 from you. I required a minimum of 4, so that is good. So, you spend a few minutes glancing at the map, trying to follow a direct straight line from the club. Now, says Adiz, river's not on ground level. River banks are a good, several feet above the surface of the water. If she's carrying that painting and she's just come off whatever she's done here, she's probably running low on juice, which means she's gonna need an easier way to get ashore. So, at this point, Sylvia, you tap a spot on the map with your fingernail. Here. There's a boat landing here, and another one here. Right, he says. So it means she could have come ashore on the edge of Port Melbourne, right next to the M1, or right on the edge of South Bank, putting her in the vicinity of Crown Casino. So, here's what I think we do. Pick the one you think is most likely. Whichever one you don't pick, I'll head over to. Hopefully between the two of us, we'll catch up with her.
Well, the M1's more secluded, so it'd be easy to stay hidden, but she wouldn't have anywhere to feed, really.
Yep.
The Crown is full of kind, but heavily monitored.
And also Cam territory.
Indeed.
So it sounds like the first one's probably the best option.
Deez
Which was the first one
nods.
again?
I concur.
Deez nods and says, yeah, look, if she's looking to hawk Squizzy's painting to somebody, she's probably not going to be doing it right under the nose of the Cam. That said, considering how blatant this whole attack was, maybe she does have the balls to do exactly that.
Can't rule it out, so yeah.
He says, I think we got a 50-50 chance either way, so you guys want to handle the M1?
Works for me.
Alright,
Yeah.
I'll head to Crown Casino, see if I can keep an eye out for her, and, maybe try to get the word out to any Camarilla I find that she's dangerous, she's on the loose, and she should absolutely not be engaged if anyone finds her.
We'll be much less secure out on the highway, though.
He says,
So,
well,
better than mine.
claps his hands together. Let's hope we put an end to this tonight, for all our sakes. Otherwise, it's going to be egg on our faces, and Larson will be laughing all the way to the bank.
And I honestly don't want to see another one of this happen. This is the kind of stuff I moved to Australia to get away from.
That too,
This
says
is
the
complete
Deez.
bullshit.
Look, I've heard Squizzy has his flaws, but when he ascended to Praxis, shit like this stopped happening. Until now. He says, so, I'll leave the M1 to you. Anything I can do for you before we go our separate ways?
Think we're good. Oh, what's your phone number again? And as I pull off a cocktail napkin and write it down.
He gives you his phone number, you write it down.
Kinda give
keeping
Derek a salty
close
glare.
eye on Derek. And then D says, well, I'll head to the other landing, scout the Crown, see what I find. If you do catch up with her, needless to say, try to bring her in alive. Look, I doubt anyone will care if you have to destroy her, but gives us a leg up on Larson if we give her to the Prince alive.
That would be nice. Fortunately, we're pretty tough. So, well, I mean, shouldn't accidentally kill her.
He says, I've
we've
got
brought him in alive
cleaners. Go ahead, Derek.
I was going to say, we've brought him in alive before, we should be able to do it again.
Knock on wood.
Good, he says. Yeah, treat it like a spider situation. He says, well, I've got cleaners on the way here. They'll scrub any evidence of tonight's events from the venue, so I suggest you make yourselves scarce. Good luck. And then he steps out of the office into the darkness of the hallway outside, occasionally punctuated with the flickering lights. And before your very eyes, it's as if he fades into the darkness and you do not see him leave the venue.
That is a neat trick. All right, I'm sorry. What were your names again? I offer hands to the woman and the man.
They look back at you. The woman leans forward, tentatively shakes your hand, and she's, Emily McGovern. The man with the trench coat says, forget my real name. I'm a vampire now. Creature of the night. Call me Slick.
You know what? You could have done a lot worse. Emily and Slick, okay. And you know, if you can make it work, you can make it work. It's a little extra, you can make it work. We are arranging transportation to you to a safe house. Point back at Derek. This guy will have a long talk with you later.
They just look at him. They just look at him, and then Slick says, "Oh, yeah, we get to learn from the guy who actually looks like a vampire." And then, as you lead them across the blood-soaked club, Hope takes Derek's phone, arranges for a taxi to pick them up, and as you step out into the cold winter night, pulling the door shut behind you, you point towards the shadows round the side of the club, tell the two Thin Bloods to wait there for the taxi, and then wish them luck on their first night, promising that Derek will see them again soon. And then you set off at a brisk walk down the wharf, stepping back onto the main road and deciding what to do next. What's the plan, guys?
I think we should drive to South Bank and see if we can get some snacks on the way. That sounded good to everyone?
Works for me.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you all huddle around Derek's car while Vincent heads to his own.
Actually, Vincent, hang on. Can I stow my bike in the trunk and drive with you? There was something I wanted to talk about.
In a CRX? That could be tricky. You can follow me there.
Oh, it collapses. It's a Kawasaki. I bought it because it could be disassembled.
I'm out of some tow ropes.
Despite this, even as Hope collapses the bicycle and folds it up to a third of its size, it still proves to be a tough fit in the back of the CRX, but you just manage to get it in.
I swear to God, if you chip the paint.
I'll pay to have it replaced. Derek, before I forget, I reach into my jacket, pull out a manila envelope. You remember how the prince had Martin, dig up your old identity?
Yeah.
Here's a new one. Don't tell her this one to the SSI.
You hand over a manila envelope to Derek, and Derek, you take it, open it up and take a look inside and see a birth certificate, a driver's license, a Medicare card, and several other documents.
All for a Harry Dresden.
Yeah, in the name of a Harry Dresden. He's about 2 years older than you actually are. Born in the same month, but not the same date. One town over from where you were born, and looks suspiciously similar to you.
Okay. Thank you for that.
No worries.
Yeah, it's really annoying trying to read all your bank stuff when you can't be awake during the day.
Yeah. I wouldn't like to use this to one to travel internationally, but it'll be too good for local shit.
Yeah.
And so, using her cobbler perk, Hope. Rose doesn't sleep. I don't know why that's an ongoing.
I'm gonna make a mask called Rose just to annoy you.
So,
Okay, similar.
using her cobbler perk, Hope has provided you with 2 dots of mask.
Ooh.
2? Wow, okay.
As Hope hands it over to you, she briefly runs down your new identity with you, tells you that any of these documents should pass a cursory check, and in addition to these, she's also gone the extra mile and had Harry Dresden placed into a bunch of online databases, including the criminal database, facial recognition, the Vic Roads database. And so, for all intents and purposes, you are now Harry Dresden.
When you feel like using them.
Yeah, cool.
No worries.
Wait a minute, you just gave him a Dresden file.
Yeah.
Sure did. And you get it.
Nice.
I was waiting for someone. And then, Hope, you pull open the passenger door, climb into Vincent's car, and find the inside of the car resembles a spaceship more than it does a vehicle.
Before you step in, the shoes are still covered in blood.
Yeah, we're still covered in blood, but, you know, everything else lights up. Custom dashboard, custom CD player, and radio. Everything inside custom.
That's no worries. I reach into my backpack, pull out a tarp, wrap the shoes in them, and walk in barefoot.
Appreciate it.
No problem.
Vincent...
I've learned to carry tarps.
Yeah, you definitely have to as a vampire. Vincent climbs into the driver's seat, wraps his hands around the carbon alloy steering wheel, turns the key in the ignition, and the engine roars to life, and as it roars to life, you hear the turbo. And then he slams his foot on the pedal, and the tires squeal as the modified tuner screams down the street into the embrace of Melbourne's pillars of light, the skyscrapers of South Bank. And as you drive, what did you wish to discuss with Vincent?
So I really do want to catch a bite to eat on the way. And I don't mind. I'm humble enough to ask for some help if, I need it. And I'll offer the same service, but I also wanted to ask about something.
Go on.
Well, so it's a 4-year-old mystery to me, and you're the first venturer I've had a chance to talk with since then.
Mm-hmm.
And this is your clan business, so I'm trying to figure out. Are Ventura and Lasombra usually chummy?
No, they're not.
All right.
I mean, you don't really see a lot of them around here.
Okay.
The ex-Sabat, and don't really get along very well in the first place.
I heard something about that. Okay. So, and your sire is Elliot Palmer.
Correct.
Who sponsored Father Patrick into the Camarilla.
Correct, indeed.
Okay. So, I'm curious about that because I'm trying to figure out what happened that night and what was really going on, because I've got what we saw. I told you the TLDR of how we were founded earlier, which was basically we were thrown together in a meat locker by the Second Inquisition.
Mm-hmm.
And my origin was that I got off of the plane from California, green as grass, barely knowing what I was, and got scooped up. But
Why Australia?
I was heading here anyway. I had a ticket.
It's quite a choice.
It was some personal business which doesn't apply anymore. Kind of went out the window when I died. Yeah. I guess But everyone else, with the exception of Sylvia, there were like 3 others of us to begin with. With the exception of Sylvia, 2 others. Everyone, sires, we learned later, had died that night due to the Second Inquisition, except for Father Patrick. Right. Who pretty much straight up said he made Sylvia and threw her at them to buy himself time to get away.
That sounds like pretty standard tactics.
Wow. Okay. Sorry.
You're awfully idealistic, aren't you?
When to somebody far enough on one end of the scale, I guess I would look idealistic, sure.
Perhaps occurs to you, Hope, that for all the talk of Ventru and La Sombra not being chummy, they're far more similar to each other than Vincent would care to admit.
No. I get it. Realpolitik is realpolitik, and there's a certain element of pragmatism. You gotta. Anyway. The thing is, we were escaping from the SI holding facility, and on the way out, we met a guy named Marcus who was coming in to try and spring us. And I found out later Marcus was a Ventru.
Yes, I'm vaguely familiar with him.
Vaguely, okay. How's he doing?
I haven't seen him in
Okay.
quite a long time, actually.
Okay, neither have I. The thing is, yeah, Marcus got us to a safe house. Marcus booked it out of there. And I guess my question is, one Ventru was moving against the SI to try and save neonates. I guess maybe he was kind of more on the idealism scale than the pragmatic scale. He was going in, had no clue who we were, and just getting us out because it was general good for everybody.
I suspect
Then we
he may have had his own motivations there.
Yeah. So Ventru aren't usually big on idealism?
Look, we're not a monolith. You know?
Okay.
Ideals are tools. They serve a function. They take you towards a goal. And they are very good at rallying people. But we tend not to slavishly prescribe ourselves to them.
Okay. I understand. I don't want to stereotype. Lord knows I've got no room to do that anyway. My big question is, I guess I'm trying to figure out the connections because it seems awfully convenient that Father Patrick's the only survivor, and Father Patrick later that very night, the next night, calls us at the safe house that Marcus set up, knows we're there, and basically sponsors us to the prince as a troubleshooting team, instantly reclaiming his child at the same time.
That is awfully suspect.
This does sound like an odd string of coincidences, does it?
I must admit it does.
And then I find out that Elliot Palmer, this other Ventru, sponsored Father Patrick by persuading the prince into this deal, giving him his own team. And we're traded like poker chips. And later on, I find out he's blood-bounding one of us.
Whom?
3 guesses.
Still the Earth, then.
Yeah, his own child. So, from my point of view, this guy who made coup off of us by coincidentally knowing when all of their sires were gonna die and scooping them up and swooping in to swoop in on the situation of where they were in the safe house, and then Marcus disappears out of the situation, and now there's another Ventru involved. You can see why I'm thinking there's stuff going on behind the scenes.
That is compelling information indeed.
Right.
What would you have me do with this information? Why come to me?
Because you're the first Ventru I've had a chance to talk to, and you're close to Elliot Palmer, so maybe you can get a perspective on the situation that I'm lacking.
Close.
Now, as far as
perhaps not the right term, Vincent, as you bristle, knowing that right now your sire is doing his very best to humiliate you.
My other thing is that, well, now you're under the thumb of Father Patrick, too. He does absolutely nothing for this team save feed blood to at least one of our members, currently. And...
pathetic way of setting control, go on.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like, who needs to do that? If you're some all-powerful king of the night, what are you doing with giving drugs? Anyway... my point is, you're kind of under Father Patrick's thumb right now, too, and he doesn't do much beyond sit back and gloat and stroke his cat and yell about Inspector Gadget, from my perspective.
Look, if you're trying to get something from me, come out and say it.
I'm trying to find out what kind of information you might be able to get on this. I'm too burned out to do a whole back and forth footsie thing. Larson just kind of fucking takes it out of me. The man is like the man is like toilet paper made out of sandpaper.
That's one way to see it.
Basically, I'm just putting this bug in your ear.
Yeah, so I understand.
To see if you can turn up anything on it.
I'll keep that in mind.
All right.
Vincent gets the palpable feeling that he is also being manipulated.
Yeah. And has his own interests here. So, the two cars, Vincent's tuned up CRX with Derek's worn down Beta carrying him and Sylvia behind it, drive through the CBD. The skyscrapers, the pillars of glass and light pass you by until you come to a bridge crossing over the Yarra River. A black tendril through the heart of the city, almost like a La Sombra infiltrating the Camarilla. Both cars turn onto the bridge, make their way over it into South Bank, to the heart of Camarilla territory beyond. And as you pass by the bridge, on a traffic light at the very end of it, a small plastic white CCTV camera watches your two cars drive by. You don't notice that it slowly turns to follow you. A small red light turning on under the lens as you round a corner and begin to make your way down a main road. So, who wants to feed?
Definitely me.
If I can find someone, yeah.
Yep. Well, you'll all have a chance.
Some of us have wounds to heal too, don't they?
Yeah. How are you looking on hunger, Sylvia?
I'm feeling alright. I'm only on 2 right now. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
I'm on 3.
Who has wounds to heal?
I've got 1 aggravated.
One
I have
aggravated.
2 aggravated.
Ooh, yeah. Well, if you want to, yeah, and you can only heal those when you wake up, so, yeah.
Yeah.
Can't be healed.
Yeah, that's a point.
So, very well, if you'd like to feed, and I know that Hope wants to feed.
I would like to feed.
Vincent wants to feed.
Yeah, same.
Yep. So you all feed. Well, yeah. It's probably hard for Sylvia to feed. There's not many dead people in the heart of the city. But, so, we'll go with Derek first.
Should have eaten at the club.
And Derek, what is your predator type?
What am I? Osiris.
Iris, yes. So, Derek, I would like you to please roll manipulation, subterfuge, or intimidation plus fame if you have it.
What was it? Manipulation, subterfuge?
Yep.
That's 4 successes.
So as you make your way through South Bank, eventually coming to the edge of Port Melbourne, leaving the glitz and glamour of the Crown complex behind you, you park in front of a shop on the very corner of a side street, more of an alleyway, a cobblestone path leading between 2 buildings. A sign on the brick wall simply reads, "Crystal Ball, Occult." Park your car here and tell Sylvia you'll be right back. And then you step into the alleyway, walk to the front of the store. The store that is buried within the shadows of this isolated side street. Then you push the wooden door open, a bell rings, and a cloud of dust rises up as you step into this occult/new age bookstore. A woman with green hair behind the counter, dressed up in her best goth attire, sees you enter. And as soon as you lock eyes with her, you say, "The Chosen has come for his gift of blood." Reduce your hunger to 1, unless you'd like to take it further and reduce it to 0, but you will kill her in the process.
No, just take it to 1.
You drink deep of this woman, leaving her in a state of ecstasy behind the counter. And you tell her, "Forget when the blood god visited." Then you step outside, make your way out of the alleyway, climb back into the car, wiping the blood off your lips, apologising to Sylvia for the delay. Vincent, you are a siren, I believe?
I am. Harp, I assume you're hungry. How do you do this?
Usually I prefer people who have some bling on them, earrings, good tattoos, people who are displaying,
Specific, okay. We can make that work pretty easily, I'd say.
Yeah.
2 birds.
Want to share somebody?
Oh, God, no.
Okay, fair enough.
No, but we can make something work at the same place, I think.
Okay.
So, I would like Vincent to first of all please make a wits awareness check.
That's 2, 3. 2 successes.
2 successes, okay. I'll explain what that does in a moment. Go ahead and please roll Charisma Subterfuge or Charisma Persuasion.
Yeah, that's 7 dice. No, that's 8 dice. So, 2 successes, goddamn.
So, you're not one for slumming it in dive bars. As soon as you come to the Crown complex, you park your car outside and lead Hope into the casino. You quickly cross the casino floor to the bar at the other end. And here you look around, taking in the veritable buffet of well-dressed socialites and revelers. The best of Melbourne's middle class. Using your wits and awareness, you quickly notice a couple. A man dressed in his best impression of a late 80s, early 90s yuppie, and his girlfriend, who seems to be absolutely besotted with him, enthralled by the display of wealth and power. he exudes, and you nudge Hope, pointing out that she has a nose ring and a lip piercing.
Oh, that'll do.
You step over to them. Take a seat, Hope sitting next to you, and eventually your conversation turns to other places. Eventually, you warm them up to the idea of perhaps taking things upstairs to the couple's room that they have rented out in the hotel. Hope is very interested in piercings, you point out, and you have a lot of money to flash around, and you're always looking for a good time in the city. Head up to their room, spend about half an hour knocking down drinks and convincing the yuppie to do a line of coke. After all, you tell him, to complete the image, he needs to do what yuppies do. And then, 40 minutes later, the two of you are stepping out of the Crown Complex, back out onto the streets, making your way towards the CRX, fed and ready to go. Reset your hunger to 1, please.
All right.
Lovely, and I'll be applying the addiction bonus to social once again.
About half an hour later, your 2 cars pull up at your destination. The M1 overpass runs through this portion of the city, a main artery carrying people from one side of Melbourne to the other. But you're not interested in travelling on this artery today. Rather, you follow one of the access roads underneath the overpass towards the riverbank, towards an open concrete lot filled with rusting shipping containers, overgrown with tufts of grass, a boat landing at the very end, an access point to the river. You park your cars outside this lot, step through the gap between the chain link fences, and head towards the boat ramp. What do you do to try to catch the assailant's trail?
Well, I'm going to see if I can cheese this, and I'm going to try to use Sense the Beast.
Sense the Beast. Okay, does that require a rouse check?
It does not.
Yeah. So you step into the lot and walk ahead of the others. You narrow your eyes into the others. They would appear to glow bright red in the dimly lit light, the ambient light of the skyscrapers in South Bank, a few blocks away, lending enough ambience to the scene just to illuminate your face. Please go ahead and roll your check.
Animalism versus resolve plus animalism versus composure plus subterfuge.
Yeah. Let me figure that out.
Only 1 success, but she doesn't seem like a very subtle person.
Indeed,
so
she has a dice pool of 3. 1 success. So, as you step towards the boat launch, you push open the chain gate, step out onto the wooden stairs that lead down to the wharf, and there you see it. Almost like an aura hanging in the air, the scent of a predator, leading from the edge of the wharf, across the wooden platform, up the stairs and into the concrete lot. And from there, moving between the shipping containers into a narrow alleyway, wedged tightly between 2 brick apartment tenements.
She's been through here recently. She's heading that way.
As you reach the alleyway, the cobblestone path giving way, the overgrown concrete giving way to densely packed cobblestone, the brick walls emblazoned with elaborate graffiti. The aura begins to thin and thin until eventually, as you step into the alleyway, it is no longer present. Though you all stop and sniff the air, and you can just faintly detect the scent of blood. She has been here, and recently. Who'd like to attempt to track her?
Not my wheelhouse.
Or do you just want to head in and hope you find her?
What would tracking be?
So a tracking check would be intelligence survival or wits investigation.
Well, I've got like 4 dice on that. Anyone got better?
No.
I've got 5 for wits plus investigation.
Oh, Sylvia.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll cover you while you do that.
Thank you. Yes.
Pull out your gun.
So 6 successes, but it's a messy critical.
Ooh, messy critical. That's the case. As Sylvia steps into the alleyway, her nose held to the air. Sylvia, you know she's been here, and knowing what she's put you through this night, your beast roars. You want to find this person, and you want to bring her in to get back at Larson for his insolence and prove to Father Patrick that you're not a waste, that you can get things done. So you step into the alleyway, and here and there, your vampiric senses honed for hunting take note of scuff marks in the cobblestone, bits of gravel, pebbles knocked askew, places where someone has come running through, and you lead the others down the alleyway, and then when you reach a fork to the left and right, you sniff the air, turn left, and carry your coterie deeper into this maze, this nest of twisting side streets, nestled between a cluster of buildings. The further in you get, the more it feels like you're descending into the belly of into the intestine of a large creature, this urban monstrosity, and each step takes you further away from the safety of the city lights. And then, as you round another corner, walk past a dumpster and step into the ambient light of a flickering light globe above a metal fire escape, you see her, Sylvia. A mere silhouette at the very end of the side street. She sees you and then leaps up like a blur onto the side of a fire escape. She quickly climbs to the top of a nearby building and disappears over the edge. Motioning for the others to follow you, you speed up, sprinting towards the balcony, and then you summon your vampiric strength, and I assume you'd like to use your soaring leap to chase after her?
Indeed, yes.
You bend your knees and leap up into the air, your beast roaring. You must catch her. Your hands grab the side of the roof, the curb, and pull yourself up. I'd like everyone else to please make a strength athletics check.
Uh-oh.
So I think I'm going to be boosting at this point. And
Total failure.
why did it not? Oh,
Strength, athletics.
success. So that'll let me roll with. What is my athletics again? Anyway. Ah, okay. So 5 on 2 successes. I'll take it.
Wow. Off of 5 die, no successes.
No successes. Oh,
Yeah.
Vincent,
No success.
no success. Hope,
2 successes.
2 successes.
Also
So-
be boosting dexterity as I go.
yes. So Sylvia, you're
And success again.
you're completely immersed in this chase, and you don't even stop to wait for the others. As soon as you pull yourself over the curb, you cross the roof and catch a glimpse of the silhouette jumping down the other side, back into the maze of twisting side streets and alleyways in this urban sprawl. You don't even look over your shoulder. You take a soaring leap off the side of the building, landing in the alleyway, and continue giving chase. Hope, you just barely manage to pull yourself up the fire escape, over the building, and then as you see Sylvia jump off the other side, you sigh and carefully lower yourself down the side of the building, using the windows as handholds and footholds.
This is cooler when I saw it on Cowboy Bebop.
Vincent and Derek, you guys are not so lucky. With Hope's help,
Yeah.
you manage to get up the side of the building, but getting back down, following Sylvia back into the nest, is easier said than done. And even as Hope keeps telling you, just use the windows as handholds. Look, that window's still there, and that one there, and just no, to the left, to the right, no! You both lose your grip and tumble down, landing with a thud on the cobblestone, each taking
they'll survive.
2 points of superficial damage.
Good thing.
You all see Sylvia rounding a corner at the end of the alleyway, and then you begin to give chase after her as she pursues her quarry. Sylvia, you smell the blood on the night air as you give chase down the filthy alley. Just ahead, you can make out your prey's silhouette as she flees from you. It seems that without a steady supply of victims to drain, she's not nearly as fast. Digging deep, you call on the power of your own blood. Your legs pump faster and faster, gaining on her. And then you reach out with your hand, grasping the hem of her jacket. Your beast roars. You pull her towards you, tearing the hem of her jacket, ripping the sleeve away. And as she opens her mouth to protest, you do not even wait. Sylvia, you're not interested in talking. Your beast wants her put down immediately. Please,
Can we see this?
Please, decide how you'd like to attack her.
Oh, well, if I've got her, then Touch of Oblivion.
Yep, Touch of Oblivion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go for a leg, I'd recommend.
Yep.
It's too late for that, man.
Too late for that.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So,
Success.
yeah, success. So you success on your rouse check, no stains. And now I would like you to please... I really should start these sessions with Chicago by Night open, just because I have a Sombra. Okay, so Touch of Oblivion.
I'd like
So-
to make things difficult.
Yes, I would like you to please make a strength brawl check, as she's going to try desperately to pull herself away from you. She knows that you're not here to talk.
Another 6 successes on a messy critical.
Ooh,
Whoa.
ooh, okay.
Oh boy.
Yep.
So she's going to make
Dice.
a strength brawl check, which...
Dice roller decided peace was never an option.
Yeah. She's dead, I guess.
She might be. I'm just looking
no.
at what her dice pool is.
We're gonna get there and she's just gonna be a pool of goo.
So, she's working with a dice pool of... What's she got for... She's working with a dice pool of 6, so... That is 4 successes. So she tries to pull herself away, screaming in protest, her black hair a flurried mess as she squirms and struggles. You summon your strength, the tendrils of dark energy surge through your skin, out your fingers, and wrap around her bare arm. She screams in pain, and you deal 2 points of aggravated damage to her, as well as a crippling injury. You hear a sickening snap, and her arm goes limp, hanging in a direction it's clearly not meant to. She finally pulls herself away from you, her mouth frothing in pain, but her arm clearly broken and useless. And it's at this time that you hear the footsteps of everyone else finally catching up with you. The rest of you round the corner and finally catch up with Sylvia, just to see the assailant pulling herself away. One of the sleeves of her leather jacket has been ripped away, and her left arm hangs limp, broken, with tendrils of dark energy surging through the skin like capillaries.
Couldn't happen to a nicer murderer.
As you all do this, I would like everyone except Sylvia to make a wits awareness check, please.
Okay. Let's see.
Total failure.
6 successes with a critical.
Jesus.
On 4 dice. Okay.
And how about Derek?
2 successes.
2 successes. So Derek and Vincent, as you emerge and see this scene play out before you, you notice another little white CCTV camera attached to the wall above another fire escape, pointing almost exactly in your direction. And as it sees you all round the corner, you notice a little light turn on, blinking bright red above the lens. Does anyone do anything about that?
So what does 6 successes make?
Oh yeah, 6 successes. You notice the same thing. And you...
I wouldn't have seen that then.
Yeah, and Vincent and Hope, with your 6 successes, you notice the lens begin to extend, almost as if it's focusing specifically on the scene playing out before it.
With six successes, can I shoot it out before it gets the lens fully extended?
Yeah, if you want. So
I'll
pull out your gun, point it towards the camera, and as you see the red light turn on, you fire. Bang! The bullet hits the camera. Sparks fly off it as warped plastic falls to the ground with a clatter.
No watchy.
And then all hell breaks loose. Now that she is free, the assailant looks back at you. She bares her teeth, and then she looks from left to right, and she says, Shit, what's taking them so long? They said they'd deal with anyone chasing after me. Fine, I'll deal with you myself. And seeing that Sylvia is the closest to her, she uses her blink, rousing her blood. That is a success. She moves like a blur towards Sylvia, closing the distance between them, and before Sylvia has a chance to react, she lashes up with her bare hands, clenching a fist and attempting to punch Sylvia in the face. Sylvia, please make either a strength brawl or dex athletics check to punch back or dodge, and it will be with a penalty dice as she's used her blink to get the drop on you.
I'll punch back.
You're gonna punch back, so go ahead, make a strength brawl check.
I swear to God, I'm not lying. That's 5 successes.
Five
I swear.
successes.
Yep.
Hey.
Ooh, nice. Okay, so she's going to rouse her blood. That is a pass. She gets 1 extra dice, giving her a dice pool of 8. That is 7 successes. Moving faster than your eye can keep track of. She lunges forwards, her fist collides with Sylvia's face with a crack, and she deals 1 point of superficial damage. Then, she reaches into the folds of her leather jacket, pulls out what you all notice is another so-called snack pack, raises it to her mouth and crushes it under her fingers, licking the blood. Okay. Derek, Vincent, Hope, what would you like to do?
Sorry. So what like are our surroundings right now?
So you're in the middle of this narrow alleyway that's hugged in between 2 very tall buildings. The path stretches on behind you and onwards. There's a couple of balconies and fire escapes to the left and right, and Sylvia and this woman are standing directly in front of you, exchanging blows.
Okay.
And it's if we take our max damage, we just fall in the torpor, don't we?
Yeah, you don't die. Not unless
cool.
someone actually kills you while you're in torpor.
Right.
Yeah. I guess in which case I'm just gonna try and, seeing this, I'll just try and rush her and use that silvered knife I've got. I'm just trying to get her with that.
Yep, alright, so go ahead to make a strength or dex plus melee check.
Ew.
She's going with a dice pool of 5 on this.
Yeah, I'm gonna rouse for strength.
Go ahead.
Success, I don't get hungrier. It is only 1 success.
1 success to her, 3 successes. You charge at her with your knife, and she sees you coming. She ducks away from Sylvia, whirls around with blinding speed, and blocks your knife, holding her arm in front of her like some sort of bizarre martial artist. Your blade stabs into the flesh of her arm and barely manages to scratch her before she ducks and whirls out of the way. Vincent, what would you like to do?
Best I can try, honestly, is to try and mesmerize.
Yep.
Go for it.
Alright, see if you can catch her eye. You step forward. Go ahead, make a rouse check.
Sure. That's just... Oh, goddammit. Just 1 for rouse. Failure.
Failure.
So
Hungry.
Yep,
hunger
you're more
increases.
hungry.
And...
Alright, go
Yeah,
ahead,
just-
make a manipulation dominate check versus her intelligence plus resolve.
That's 6, 7.
5 for her.
7. 5 successes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as she whirls around, avoiding Derek's charge, you step forwards, catch her on the eye line as she stands back up, and in that split second, you attempt to mesmerize her. She gets 2 successes. What command do you give her?
Sit down!
She looks back at you, her face screwed up with hatred. She's trying desperately to fight, and then you see her knees bend against her will, and she's forced into a sitting position, kneeling down before you. She looks up at you, her eyes burning with anger.
Cool. I'll shoot her.
Yep. Go ahead, Hope. Make a Dex firearms check. Add an extra dice. Because she's not
Dex is
moving anyway.
currently boosted, so that's 7 dice. Hunger of 1, 3 successes.
3 successes. She's not even going to attempt to resist. So that is 5 points of aggravated damage. You step forward, raise your gun, and bang! The bullets hit her. Blood spills forth, and she gasps in pain, much as if you'd shot a human.
Oh. Holy
she
crap.
crumples in a heap, and then twitching, pulls herself to her feet, desperately clinging to life. She climbs to her feet, and then the potion, the blood that she squeezed out of that snack pack, which Derek, you now realise was a thin blood formula, a thin blood potion, comes into effect. She holds out her arms and begins to rise off the floor. And then, hovering in the air, she holds out her hands, and as she gains air, rises and rises, she attempts to wrap her arms around Hope.
Nani? So I don't want her to do that.
I don't want her to do that at all. So I'm going to get you to please roll for me a strength athletics check.
Fortunately, I boosted strength, so that's 5 dice. Only 1 success. I'm getting hugged.
She's going to be doing a strength plus thin blood alchemy, which gives her a dice pool of 8.
Jeez.
That is a messy crit.
Ooh.
So as she slowly rises off the ground and you just stare at her, dumbstruck, Hope. You've never seen anyone do this, human nor kindred. She grabs hold of your arm, hoists you off the ground with her, and then suddenly you feel a whoosh of air as she begins to fly at full speed above the ground, and as soon as she reaches the roof of one of the nearby buildings, she looks down and whispers in your ear, "Have a nice trip," and then she lets go.
Yeah, about that. May I do something?
Go ahead.
She tries to let go of me.
Yep.
She tries.
Right.
Her hand is now part of me.
Oh, okay,
Oh
yeah.
my god.
Rouse check.
As she
do
looks
your
down to see my
vicissitude.
other hand moving inside her ribcage.
Yeah.
And I will rouse blood for vicissitude because she grabbed the wrong one.
What the fuck am I seeing right now?
Probably from your angle, me fighting her.
Yeah. So the rest of you are just watching as she rises off the ground and she's carrying Hope with her, and the higher she gets, the faster she seems to move. It would be comical if not for the dire circumstances. It's almost like watching Superman or some other superhero taking flight.
So, do you want a flesh crafting roll that
Yes,
she can
please.
defend against?
Uh,
Okay.
Yes, please. She's going
That's
to...
5 successes.
5 successes, yeah. She can't defend against that, so she whispers, "Have a nice trip." And then she releases you, only to hear a sickening squelch as your hand fuses with her ribcage. Her eyes go wide. And she says... her eyes go wide, and what do you say to her?
Put me down, you bitch. That's an order. And I will rouse manipulation and try to dominate her with my own mesmerize.
She's going to resist that with her dice pool of 5.
So I get hungrier. That's fine. 2 successes.
2 successes to her 5 successes. Messy crit.
Oh, okay. She's not putting me down.
She looks at you, briefly contemplates your hand attached to her rib cage. There's a moment of silence between the two of you, just sitting here in the air, and Indeed, she rises higher and higher. Now even the buildings beneath you are far away. The roof is a distant memory. You can still see the other three, but they're little more than dots in the tiny alleyway looking up at you. She regards the hand fused to her ribcage with some interest, and then she smiles and she says, I thought my mentor's people were the only ones who could do that. Interesting. Interesting. She says, well, I'll have you know that the person
yes,
I'm
and
working...
you're blowing my cover. Get us down and make it look good.
She says, I'll have you know that the people I'm working for can do that, and they can do it worse than you.
Are you fucking stupid? You're blowing our cover. Get us down.
She says, hey, you're the one who attacked me. And then she says, don't worry, I'll put you down, just like you said. And then she does something which to you qualifies as equally stupid and daring. She reaches down and using the same hand she used to punch Sylvia across the alleyway, she grabs hold of your hand.
Honey, before you do that, I have bad news.
Yep.
I didn't let go of the gun. And it was in my other hand.
Yeah, you did it.
As I fire a round into her heart.
Ooh, yeah. She's not expecting that, but just the same, make a Dex firearms check. 1 penalty dice as you are in the air.
Ooh, how much of this are we getting?
You're seeing the two of them up in the air, so distant now that you can barely make out fine movements, and they're just sort of sitting in place. And you're not sure what's happening, but you doubt it's good.
Only 2 dice. Only 2 successes.
Okay.
2 successes. I mean, only 2 successes.
I'm going to do a strength brawl check to contest that.
Yeah, I'm toast.
That is 2 successes. No, you're fine. You fire your gun into her heart. Bang! She gasps as she notices you raising the gun.
No, it's in her.
She doesn't have time to say anything. Hold it to... Yep, go ahead.
I didn't have time to drop the gun when I shoved my hand into her.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Her eyes go wide, she gasps as she realizes that indeed your gun is currently inside her ribcage, and she can feel it moving upwards towards your heart. And that's all she can do as you pull the trigger. And suddenly, her ribcage bursts open. You deal 5 points of aggravated damage to her. Her eyes roll back in her head. And as she dies, she gasps one last word. Your time will come, Cammies. There's one of us among you. And
Could
then,
you hold a little more still? I'm trying to make you into a hang glider.
And then her dead body begins to plummet. What do you do, Hope?
Do I have enough time to make her into some sort of gliding implement?
You've got a full 50 or 60 feet.
Oh my god, we're that... Oh, 50 or 60 feet?
Yeah.
In that case, there probably isn't time to make her into a hang glider. I'm just going to try to...
You've got maybe 2 or 3 seconds.
I'm going to, first of all, extract my arm, because there's a very good chance I hit torpor from this, and then I'm going to try to roll so that she is between me and the ground.
Yep, okay. So you extract
and pray
your
to the
arm,
flying spaghetti monster.
reducing more of her ribcage into splinters, and what's left of her skin and flesh it catches the wind and flaps out almost like winds, like some sort of eldritch kite. And then you attempt to flip her around so that you're on top of her, so that at least she'll break your fall. Please make a dexterity athletics check with a penalty dice.
Couldn't have grabbed Sylvia, no. She could have shadowed him to go down. Oh.
I was gonna say, could I try and soaring leap up and catch her? Or
you can use your soaring leap, and that will cancel out the penalty dice.
Okay,
yeah, I'll do that.
What am I rolling again? Sorry.
You're just rolling dex athletics as per normal. No penalty dice, as seeing that you're falling, seeing this woman's chest burst open like a macabre kite. Sylvia leaps into the air to try and catch you.
One success.
One success. You manage to flip her around at the last possible moment. The flaps catch the wind and slow your fall ever so slightly, just enough that when you pass by Sylvia, who reaches the peak of her leap, she reaches out her arms, wraps them around you, pulls you off your makeshift hang glider, and carries you both safely to the ground. A few seconds later, the thin blood's eviscerated corpse lands in front of you with a thump, kicking up a cloud of dust.
You're welcome, Jesus. What were you trying to do to her? God.
I was trying to shoot her.
Vincent is running over at this point.
Vincent's running over.
I jammed my gun inside her chest and fired off rounds.
That's metal as fuck, but oh my god, don't do that when you're 60 feet in the air, bud.
Oh, she wouldn't put me down. I tried.
Vincent, you rush forwards just as she hits the ground with a thump, and as she does so, something made of plastic clatters out of one of her breast pockets. A smartphone.
I'm gonna snatch that up for starters.
You snatch that up, there's a big crack on the screen, but it's mostly intact miraculously after that fall.
It's a smartphone.
Yeah.
Pocket that for now.
Pocket that for now. And Derek, yeah, if you see Vincent pick it up and you realise it's a smartphone, and at first you wonder how she could possibly be making use of that without constantly burning blood, but then you realise, Derek, with your points in occult, thin bloods can pass as human. The blush of life is always in effect. This was no ordinary kindred. You were almost killed by a thin blood.
Oh.
Vincent had put this together the moment that he saw the gunshot do so much damage the first time around.
Yep.
At this point, I'm going to activate Awe and look directly at Hope, and I say, you're going to explain what just happened.
I jammed my gun inside her chest and fired several times.
Check. And that cost me some hunger as well.
Yep.
You did what now?
I jammed my gun into her chest and fired several times, got my strength boosted.
Okay.
If you want, I can roll a subterfuge check.
Probably does. You are lying, so...
I am glossing over the truth.
Yeah, you're doing a half truth. So yeah, please make a manipulation subterfuge check.
Well, still got my manipulation boosted.
And you get one penalty die on this because, well, actually, what is your charisma, Vincent?
3.
Do you get 3 penalty dice on this?
Wow, really? Okay.
Because instead of getting Vincent to do a check, I'm getting you to do a check, and
one
applies
success.
Charisma to the check.
1 success.
1 success. Okay. I will now get you, Vincent, to please do an intelligence insight check.
Insight. Okay. Wait, where's the other? That's 6. 2 successes.
2 successes. It's quite obvious that someone shoved a gun point blank range at her chest and pulled the trigger. That's not up for debate, but Hope is leaving something out.
Okay, that... Come on. What did you see? You went flying into the air just now?
What I saw was a whole lot of Melbourne. Be pretty high up.
Don't fuck with me right now.
Right. First of all, We should probably find that painting and get moving, because whoever that was behind that camera is gonna know we shut it out or broke it.
Speaking of
Fuck.
which, I'd like
Alright,
everyone to
I'm not
make
forgetting this.
Yeah.
And we can have a good long talk about this later.
I'd like everyone to make a wits awareness check, please.
Two successes.
Haven't boosted that one. So,
2 successes.
3 successes.
Oh, God, again. No successes and a bestial failure.
Okay, so everyone
Oh, no.
except Derek. Forgive me, I'm just going to go get another book out of my bookshelf.
No.
Oh god.
That should probably be ominous.
Oh, I know which book it is.
Oh, God.
Oh,
Oh.
no, I don't know which book it is. Okay.
So, successes
This
for
is fine.
everyone?
3 successes here.
3, so everyone except Derek? Right. So, as Hope and Vincent stand there, eye to eye, glaring at each other, silently engaging in a battle of wits, everyone except Derek notices a flicker of movement out of the corner of their eyes. A man dressed in all black steps out onto one of the fire escape balconies. You have just enough time to notice, slung under his right shoulder, is a square object wrapped in paper, roughly the size and shape of the missing painting. In his left hand, he holds a narrow metal cylindrical object. He lifts up his arm and tosses it down into the street. It clatters on the cobblestone in front of you. Hope, how many points in firearms do you have?
Just one.
Just one. So
But I've seen enough movies.
Yeah, you see it clatter down onto the cobblestone, and you all see the lettering stenciled on the side of the blue metal. AP. Hope, with your dot in firearms, you have just enough knowledge to realise what this is. AP, anti-personnel. It's a flashbang grenade.
Nice. There you go. And cover mine.
So you can make, you can all make a wits resolve roll. Derek, you also have a penalty dice, so you remove 1 dice from the pool.
Wits resolve. Hey, I'm good at this.
Oh, God.
3 successes.
4 successes.
4 successes.
4 successes, and Derek, how do you go?
Only the 1 success.
1 success. That is 2 successes from the Inquisition agent. Hope, you shout out flashbang and cover your eyes. Boom! It goes off. Searing light fills the alleyway for a split second. Disorienting Derek. The rest of you manage to cover your face just quickly enough to avoid the brunt of its effects. All around you, the air is ringing, a high-pitched drone as your ears adjust to what just happened, and then you hear a voice, seemingly far away in the distance, shouting through the ringing, "Blank bodies, engage, engage!" And you make out the shapes of 2 more men dressed in all black rappelling down out of the fire escape, levelling assault weapons in your direction.
At this point, I'm activating resilience.
Yep, you can
Good
activate
idea.
resilience. Hope, Derek, Sylvia, what do you do?
So I'm still stunned, am I?
Well, you can act, but you're disoriented, and you get 2 penalty die to any dice rolls.
So
Goddamn.
I look up at the guy, catch his eyes, and say, "Come down here and give me that painting, please." And then just go have a long... And then just, don't worry about it. And I'm going to try to mesmerize him into doing that.
Yep.
And I get hungrier.
Yep. Okay. Please make a intelligence dominate roll.
Yeah, intelligence?
No, it's not normally intelligence, is it? It's a.
I think it's manipulation.
Yeah, manipulation.
For mesmerize?
Yes, that's the one.
Good, because that's still boosted. DR 6-3. 6-4, sorry. I can reroll that if you want, but it's 4 successes.
4 successes to his 5 successes.
Yeah, no, okay. Back in the night.
Half drowned out by the incessant ringing, you hear him simply say, "Try again, blank body," and then he raises his weapon in front of him in one hand, still holding the painting under his...
Other people want to go?
Under his shoulder, and he fires. Go ahead and make a Dex athletics check, Hope.
Okay. Well, other people get to do stuff too.
They will.
So, fortunately, this is still boosted. 2 successes.
2 successes, 1 success. He obviously didn't expect you to still be on your feet and alert after the flashbang, so you have just enough time as he raises his gun to duck. He fires, thunk! Pointed piece of metal, a stake, shoots out of the elongated barrel, sails over your head and embeds itself in the brick wall behind you.
Of course they have stake launchers, why wouldn't they?
The other 2 agents touch down on the cobblestone with a thump, raise their weapons. Sylvia, Derek, Vincent, what would you like to do?
There are 3 of them, yeah?
There are 3 of them now.
I raise my gun and fire at the nearest one.
Raise your gun, fire at the nearest one. Okay. As you raise your gun and fire at the one directly in front of you, he moves his gun back and forth, training it on you, Sylvia, and Hope, then back to you again, cycling between the 3 of you. And as he does this, I would like you, as you're the one facing him, to make a wits awareness check, please.
Yep. 3 successes.
3 successes. You notice, for whatever reason, that he never trains his gun on Derek. Almost like he doesn't consider him a threat. Go ahead and make a Dex firearms check, and we will oppose it with his.
Wow.
Harsh.
3.
3. 4 successes to him. Engaging! He shouts as he turns towards you. The ringing in your ears drowns out his next command as he raises his gun, fires a few rounds. Bang! 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 And they hit you. You take 4 points of superficial damage as the bullets slam into your chest, eviscerating your neat suit.
I had 2 clear health left, so that's
so
full
those,
and then
so
2 aggravated.
And then 2 aggravated.
Yeah.
Did it get have for vampirism, or do they pack in special rounds?
Nope, it's just normal. These are just normal gun rounds.
Ouch.
Yeah, he just did really well on his roll.
That's fair enough.
So you're down 2 aggravated. Sylvia, Derek, what would you like to do?
Oh, did that include resilience?
Oh, that's right, you had resilience. Let me check. It did not include resilience. I forgot you had that active. So let me look that up. Fortitude. And that is level 1. Add your fortitude rating to your health track. Okay, so what is your fortitude rating?
Just the 1.
Just the 1. Okay, so it's 1 point of aggravated damage.
Okay.
And you are impaired. Sylvia.
Okay, so there are 3 of them.
3 of them. Yep. 2 of them seem to be engaged with Hope and Vincent now. There's 1 left, and he's cycling his weapon between you and Vincent. And just like Vincent, in the heat of combat, you notice that he doesn't seem to train his weapon on Derek at all.
Okay, so the Touch of Oblivion, does that activate instantly, or do I have to wait around after it?
No, it activates instantly. You just have to close the distance between you and him.
Okay, I'll try and aim for the one that's going after Vincent right now.
Yep. So he's right next to you because he's shot Vincent and then he's running in to finish up the job. So you take a step forward, reach out to grab him, and he sees you coming. He's going to attempt to get out of the way, so please go and make a strength brawl check.
We'll rouse first. That's a failure.
Failure, you get hungrier. And that's going to be 5 in his dice pool.
2 successes.
2 successes. He got a complete botch.
Okay, I am aiming for his eyes. I'm trying to blind him.
Moving to dispatch, he shouts as he rushes forwards, raising his gun, ready to finish off Vincent. You step forwards, hold out your hand, and place the palm of it on his face. He immediately begins to scream as the dark energy surges through your fingers. His skin begins to sizzle, and then he pulls away, screaming. Where his eyes were, there is nothing but two burnt out sockets, blood pouring down his face. He takes 2 points of aggravated damage and a crippling injury, and he begins to spray his gun wildly in panic as he screams, "Ah! Bang, 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 bang!" So I would like you, Sylvia, to make a Dex Athletics check, and you get a bonus dice on this.
Only 1 success.
Only 1 success. That's okay. I'm not rolling to see if he hits you. I'm just rolling to see if you dodge. So the other 2 agents are going to roll. And the third one passes, but the one who's engaged with Hope does not pass. And in his panic, the agent you attacked riddles his friend with bullet holes, dealing 6 points of aggravated damage. The man holding the painting falls forwards, instantly obliterated, his chest turned into mincemeat, and the painting clatters onto the ground.
Cool. I'm gonna dive on him and start drinking.
Yeah, go ahead. Derek, what would you like to do?
Correct response.
So we've got one who's got no eyes and he's just spraying his gun in a panic.
Yeah.
And you've got the third one who is perfectly fine and he's decided to go for Sylvia. He's got his gun pointed to her back as she stepped forwards to attack the other guy.
So maybe a weird question, but what are they dressed in like?
So they're just dressed in all black. They don't appear to be wearing tactical gear or anything. They're just dressed in all black suits and masks, balaclavas, and little plastic earpieces in their ears, cords running down their chest.
Yeah, let's go for it. Still in my haze from getting flashbanged, I'll just try and stumble into his line of sight and attempt to make eye contact with him and just look at him, just give me a gun.
So you step forward, stumbling, holding your hand to your head from the disorienting flashbang, your ears still ringing, and as you step forwards, he turns towards you, points his gun in your direction, and then as he sees you step towards him, he lowers his gun, holds out his hand, and says, "Take cover, sir!"
What?
Catches you off guard, but do you still attempt to dominate him?
I'm gonna say no, just because it catches him so off guard. It's just like, wait, what?
Yeah, you just catch him off guard. He holds out his hand, and he says, "These people are dangerous terrorists, sir. Stay out of trouble. We'll secure you in a moment." And then he turns away from you, pointing his gun back at Sylvia.
What?
What?
I just look at Derek.
I look back at the 3 Sylvias I'm seeing at the moment and just shrug.
Yeah. But he does have his back turned to you now, Derek.
So with that, can I then change my action to something else then?
You can, yes.
Yeah. And with that, then I'm gonna focus on the area of my wrist where the blade pops out,
Yep.
and I'm gonna scorpionate the blood there.
Ooh, nice. So you
Turned his back on a Tremere.
clench your
Classic
fist
mistake.
and your bow and hidden blade shoots out. You quickly spit a tiny drop of blood onto the end. Scorpion's blood poisoned on your shunt.
Yeah.
Go ahead and make a dex brawl check and get a bonus dice because he has his back turned to you.
Success on the rouse, so I don't get hungrier. Yeah, so it's a strength athletics check, was it?
Dex brawl or strength brawl, whichever one you want.
Yeah, strength brawl. And then +1 because he's not looking. It's 3 successes.
3 successes, nice. So you stumble forwards towards the man, holding out your blood shank. This would be easier than attempting to spit at him while you're dazed. And he hears the footsteps. He turns around and he says, "Sir, for your own safety!" And then he sees the blood on the end of the bone shank. And he just simply says, "Oh, fuck," as you lunge forward, slamming the shank into his neck. He gurgles, and
Makes
his
sense.
eyes
Dirk was the only one stunned.
his eyes roll back in his sockets, and he falls to the ground in a heap, unconscious. There's one man left, the one Sylvia attacked. He's still spraying his gun wildly, screaming, "Ah! Ah!" What would you like to do? Anyone have any ideas?
Is he facing you, like, is he continuing to spray, like, in one direction?
He's just waving from left to right. Bang, 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 covering the alley in an arc, and by this point, Hope and Sylvia and Vincent have ducked.
I'm holding up the body for the guy I'm drinking
holding
from
up
as a
the
shield.
body, using it as a shield.
Alright, as much as it's going to suck because I'm already at 4 hunger, I'm going to try and dominate him.
Ooh. Well, he
No
doesn't
eyes.
have any eyes left.
Doesn't have eyes at the moment.
Does that matter?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, it
No,
does
okay.
actually. He can't see you, so yeah, you have no way to
Yeah.
dominate him.
Okay. Never mind then. Oh, I thought I might be able to just use my voice. Okay.
You can as an amalgam with presence, but I don't believe you have that power.
It's
yet.
level 4 presence
Okay.
to get that trick. It's really nice though.
Yeah, I'm going to look into that.
Yeah. That's a Ventru power combo.
Do I have a clear shot at him?
You do. He's not moving. He's not standing. He's not stepping anywhere. He's just standing pressed against the wall, spraying his gun while he screams.
There's no one in the way. Okay.
Nope.
Yeah, I'm gonna shoot at him, but I'm gonna try and not shoot to kill because I want to get some info out of him.
That's fair enough. Okay, make a Dex firearms check. 1 penalty dice as you're trying not to kill.
Yep. So that's 4 hunger. 1 success.
You stand up, step out from the dumpster you've scrambled behind for cover into his line of fire. Raise your gun and fire. Bang! Your bullet hits him in the chest, but you also are grazed by one of his, taking another point of aggravated damage. You deal 3 points of aggravated damage to him. The bullet slams into his chest and his leg. He gasps, falls to his knees, and then, as he realizes what you're doing, that you've shot him in the leg instead of going in for the kill, he stops firing his gun and points it directly up under his chin.
Shit.
Oh, shit.
Anyone want to do
Anyone?
anything?
Is anyone able to stop him from doing that?
Yeah, Sylvia's probably the
it's-
closest to him.
I'll just try and grab him, I guess.
Make a Dex Athletics check or a Dex Roll check. It's up to you.
Can you do the super strong character thing where you bend the barrel of the gun?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I kill
not
him
with-
anyway.
Not with 2 successes, unfortunately.
Yeah. So you run forwards, reach out your hand to grab the barrel, and then his finger tightens on the trigger, and he stares in your direction with his burnt, bleeding eyes, and he says, "I'll never become one of you!" Bang! His head
Shit.
explodes like a watermelon. Ribbons of red blood and brain matter spill over the cobblestone as his headless body slumps forwards.
God, okay.
It's cute that he thought we were going to turn him.
But they're all
Okay.
down, and it appears the area appears to be safe for the
Yeah.
time being.
There's been enough stuff. There's been enough Flynn blood for one night.
Yeah, it's enough thinned blood for one night.
Table manners.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, on the bright side, you can now feed if you need to, Sylvia.
Yes, I will do that, actually.
Yeah, go ahead and reduce it all to 0, because, I mean, they're dead, and they've been freshly deaded, so go ahead.
I think I still only get it to 1.
But
Yeah,
this
I'm
guy
getting
isn't in the... I'm guessing my guy isn't in the body mod culture.
No, unfortunately.
So I'm able to say, what, a point?
So you're able to, if you want, you can make a willpower check.
My one die, huh?
Yep.
Yeah.
One success. Hey.
1 success. You're so hurt, injured, completely done with tonight that you just collapse onto the body in front of you and begin to drink. Lower your hunger to 1.
Actually, I don't think I'm injured at all, but my hunger is...
You're
was it
injured.
for?
You're injured inside where it counts.
Yeah, that works. This night has gone wrong in every way again. All right.
The last of the ringing dissipates from your ears, and you see Derek stumble forwards once, twice more. Then he shakes his head, and finally, Derek,
Okay.
your vision returns to you, and your hearing is back to normal, and you all look around, taking in the scene of carnage that played out in a matter of seconds.
Fast things. That they came out of a doorway, right?
You look up to the fire escape, and indeed, you see the doorway open that all 3 of them stepped out of. It's now swinging softly in the wind.
I'm betting that this was a listening post. I think I know the play here. Anybody good at looking for traps? Shit, that's technology. That's me. Okay, I'm heading up there.
Very well. Intelligence
Yeah.
technology.
Well, I'm at 1, so I might as well boost intelligence. Because what the hell? Now I'm at 2. He wasn't the right kind of blood anyway. It's not sitting well. But this gives me 6 dice to toss around. And 1 success. Fuck my life. Okay.
Wow.
I don't see any traps, so I hit on in.
Yep. Hoist yourself up onto the fire escape and then step into the darkness. Takes a few seconds for your vampiric eyes to adjust to the pitch blackness. You look around and
Eyes of the beast, baby.
realize you've stepped into an abandoned apartment. All the furniture is gone. The floor is covered in a thin layer of dust. There doesn't appear to be anything in the way of traps, but there on the kitchen counter sits a single laptop, its screen giving off an eerie blue glow that illuminates the kitchenette.
I'll grab it.
As you approach it, with your success, you're able to unlock it, typing in the admin override code that comes default on this model of laptop, pressing enter and expecting nothing to happen, but then finding the screen bursting to life, feeling a spasm of excitement as you now have access to an SI computer.
I'll pick it up and take with.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Close it up.
Is it?
Oh, yep.
I'll check to see if it's got a GPS running.
Please make another intelligence technology check.
All right. Still boosted. 3 successes.
Close it up and then flip it upside down and look at the bottom of the laptop, and next to the battery compartment you see a small circular plastic object attached to the base. You rip it
Dink.
off,
Flick.
the red light blinks out, and then you toss it aside, crush it underfoot.
All right. We scored gold.
Indeed. You step out of the fire escape, hold up the
We should
laptop
run now.
so the others can see it,
Do.
and then leap down to join them as you tell them they should run. And what do you do then?
We should be
No.
taking that thin blood corpse at the very least.
Yes. I'll need proof we did it.
Yeah, and can I go over and grab the painting, check that's alright?
You sure can. So Derek, you step over to the painting, or what you assume to be the painting, lift it up,
Yeah.
and peel back some of the brown paper. Underneath you see the painting, the Sidney Nolan picture of Ned Kelly and the Kelly gang. There appears to be some slight water damage on the frame, but miraculously the canvas itself is immaculate.
All right, let's get back to the cars. Vincent, I'll cut you a deal.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what my deal is if the laptop gets left out of our report.
Fine.
Okay. I figure I'll be riding with you anyway. So we
Yeah,
get
get
done
in.
sometime. Okay. We want to rendezvous to somewhere, or we want to go directly to Elysium?
Yeah, it's up to you. As you make your way back through the maze of corridors, takes 15 minutes to make your way back to the lot with the shipping containers, and you're on
Put
edge
the laptop in my
whole time.
backpack.
Laptop in the backpack. You're on edge the whole time as you're half expecting more Inquisitors to jump out at you, but you manage to make it to the curb where your vehicles are parked, breathing sighs of relief as you clamber in. Heading straight to Elysium, or are you going to rendezvous somewhere first?
We've got the corpse in the car, yeah?
Yeah. Vincent, you've carried it the whole way, slung over your shoulder, and it's
I pull out more
much less
tarps.
heavy than it
Wrap
would
it up.
be. It's much less heavy than it would be if it still had most of its chest organs and ribcage intact.
Okay.
So just a quick question before we leave.
Yep.
The stake launcher you had, how big are they?
So you look at the stake launchers, you heft one up. It's about the size of an assault rifle, except the barrel has been modified, and it shoots what you can assume to be stakes, and it appears the stakes are fed from a large circular cylinder attached to the bottom of the barrel, running parallel underneath it.
This is actually kind of sweet.
Gun barrel.
Now, the big question is, did they tag it? If I were you, I'd stop somewhere along the way, drop it in a place it won't be found, then come back to check on it later.
Might be a good idea.
Or if nothing else, or I guess we could, if you want the actual gun, because I realize I'm not very good with guns, so I was probably just going to grab like a stake or two.
Yeah, you can grab the stakes.
Seriously? Hey, Vincent, you want a stake launcher? You're pretty good
I'll
with
take a
guns.
fucking stake launcher.
Yeah, take a stake launcher, man.
So, Derek,
Well, this-
you lift up, you pull the metal stake out of the brick wall, the one that was meant for Hope, and it's quite heavy in your hand, and you realise that this is serious power, that this stake would put any kindred down, and all you'd need to do is get it in their chest. Unlike a wooden stake, you wouldn't need to use force to hammer it in there. The weight of this stake is enough. All you'd have to do is stab someone with it, and the heavy metal would guide it to where it needs to be. And then you pick up the grenade. You pick up the modified grenade launcher and hand it to Vincent, who whistles as he slings it over his shoulder next to the corpse.
So I've got no stakes for that.
Well, there's still some in the barrel,
Okay.
like another 2 or 3, perhaps.
Honestly, if you want to give me a sample, I know a guy. You could probably fabricate some.
Yeah.
We'll work that out later.
How many
Right.
points in firearms do you have, Vincent?
Just the one.
Just the one, yeah. So, as Derek hands it to you, you take a brief look at it and you figure out how to open the canister that contains the stakes. And you find that it holds a maximum of 4, and there are 3 more within, grasped in thin metal wire holding them in place. And every time it's fired, the canister rotates, sliding the next stake into place.
This is so cool.
Clamber into your vehicles, turn the key in the ignition, and put this place of spilled thin blood behind you, gunning once again for the safety of the city lights. But where to?
That's a good question. Did we want to do Elysium, or did we want to rendezvous somewhere first?
What time of night is it?
It is by now about 12:30.
Okay, we got time.
Yeah, I mean, unless you want to like drop the laptop and the grenade launcher off somewhere first, I don't see why we shouldn't go to Elysium.
Laptop's in my backpack. As long as it doesn't get reported, we should be fine. Be able to pick it apart later.
Yes, yeah,
Would it be bad manners to go in covered in blood?
It absolutely would be.
It absolutely
Yeah.
would be.
All right, then let's. Actually, yeah. Somebody could rent a CDU hotel room to go shower and change.
Vincent, your apartment is quite
There's
close
a shower
by
in my
in
place.
South Bank, only a couple of blocks away from the Crown. It's up to you whether you're willing to allow the others to use it for such a purpose, though.
Fine. You can come to my place and get yourself cleaned up. Just
Oh shit!
mess.
Oh, Vin, that's so nice of you.
Perhaps you're growing on him after all.
All right.
So as you begin to drive down the road once again into South Bank and feel this sort of sense of calm warmth spill over you as you cross the Yarra River and find yourself once again in the shadows and bright lights of the city centre. You have a smartphone and a laptop. As you drive, would you like to examine them?
Yes, I would.
So,
First of all, the smartphone's getting the GPS pop
yeah,
turned off.
you head into the smartphone using.
And for the
your-
record, Vincent, I'm clearly not using Blush of Life and using the touch menus anyway.
Duly noted.
Yeah. But you know better than to question what Hope has done to her own body at this point. And so you just watch as
Well.
she swipes her finger, locates the location services, and turns them off, and then begins to browse through the smartphone and the laptop. I would
This
like...
is the least of the conspicuous things that I've
Yeah,
seen
this
her do
happens.
tonight. So.
Hope is done.
To be fair, I wasn't expected to get Superman.
I would like you, Hope, to please do an intelligence investigation check.
All right. Well, the scene has ended, so I'm back down to... Oh, what am I down to? Not great. Yeah, I'll boost blood again. What the hell? Getting hungrier. My system's starting to tell me stop. 2 successes.
So you reach over and reach over and reach into your pocket for your own phone and realize it's no longer there. You mutter something about how great it would be to have the others on loudspeaker so they could hear everything you're finding, and Vincent just sighs, reaches over and pushes a button on the dashboard, and you see a symbol light up in bright orange. It's a picture of a mouth with a speech bubble coming out. And Vincent just says, "They're on loudspeaker, go ahead." And
Nice. All
flick
right.
through the phone and begin to read out the contents within. Speaking through Vincent's car phone so that Derek and Sylvia can hear as they follow behind you in their own vehicle. The smartphone is relatively empty of incriminating information, save for what appears to be some sort of diary sequestered away in the Notes app. It's here that the previous owner spilled all of their inner feelings on their night-to-night existence as a kindred. It's clear that as a thin blood, they did not have much of a support network and had to divulge these feelings somewhere. And so...
See what I mean? Security risk.
Yeah, so they've made another security risk and also basically chronicled the last several years of their existence in diary form. The Thin Blood's name was Lily Harper. She was embraced at a Motley Crue concert in 1990.
Oof.
She quickly ran afoul of the Scourge and his office and just barely managed to survive. This gave her a severe loathing and intense hatred of Squizzy and the Camarilla in general. She had some friends in the Anarchs who helped her hide away and eventually get out of the city. That was all they were willing to offer her. At that time, Thin Bloods were persona non grata, even for the Anarchs. Yet she made use of the limited services they gave her, fled the city, and spent her years travelling around the continent, from domain to domain. She made several friends and enemies along the way, and she's fairly certain that there are still ongoing blood hunts for her in a number of cities. Among these friends, she describes one who she met in Brisbane, a member of the Sabbat who,
Oh boy.
going against his own nature, did not instantly destroy her, but instead found that she could be incredibly useful. He constructed for her portable hearts that she could use to store her thin blood mixtures to keep them fresh so that she could carry them on her person at all times. Showed her how to survive as a kindred, how to hunt, and even helped nurture the one innate discipline she held as a thin blood, her celerity. Eventually the time came to return to Melbourne as rumours reached her ears that Baron Sue had returned to the city and begun to organise the Anarchs. It was not long after this that Brisbane fell to the SI. She assumed that her contact, her friend in the Sabbat, was gone. And yet, somehow he had survived. He reached out to her, and to her surprise, she found that he too had made his way to Melbourne. The two hatched a plan to start a war between the Anarchs and the Camarilla. This would be her chance to get back at Squizzy. Her contact told her about the Sidney Nolan painting in Club Violet. She knew what to do. He told her that all she need do was find it and meet him in an alleyway on the border of Port Melbourne. Doesn't matter if anyone chases me, she writes. My friend will deal with all of the cam himself. And I'll love every second of it. Any thoughts?
I'm thinking her friend betrayed her. He knew there was a second Inquisition post and he had her deliver it to their door. He made a tool and he used it up, be like the Sabbat does.
Indeed. Will remain to be seen whether it had the effect that was intended on sparking a conflict between the Anarchs and the Camarilla, but...
We've got a confession that she was working for the spot. And we've got those heart things as evidence. And we've got our own words.
Now, the laptop. The laptop, as you expected, contains very little of use. It appears to be disposable, a burner used for this one operation and nothing more. The only thing of interest it contains is the operational notes for tonight's assault. And they are very simple. It appears that this Inquisition cell was informed that blank bodies would arrive at that specific spot tonight. They received a tip-off from someone referred to only as Subject A. Someone who, according to the notes, claims to be entrenched within Melbourne's blank body community. The notes provide a likely course of action that your coterie would follow, complete with a route from Club Violet to where Lily would come ashore. At several points along this way, your identities were confirmed via facial recognition on the CCTV cameras. There are photos of all four of you. For Hope, Sylvia, and Vincent, there is a designation, known blank body. Engage and capture. For Derek, it simply states, Harry Dresden, unknown.
Fuck me, I'm gonna have to make you a new ID again. Seems like a bad trade, but frag it. So... 4 years ago, I was walking down the wrong street in LA. A van pulled up. Somebody said, "Hey, that one looks good." And there was a pain in the back of my head, and boom, I was out. And I woke up in a pit full of screaming bodies, cold as hell, with the sweetest thing in the world filling my mouth.
Go on.
And along with a bunch of the others, I clawed my way out of the mud and blood. Well, a whole bunch of laughing freaks rounded us up by the dozen and kicked us into a old train car full of screaming people. But one of the floorboards in the car was loose. And I wiggled out of there and ran like hell.
Where is this going?
Where this is going is that I've got some weird ass powers not necessarily found in the Camarilla.
Such as?
I don't want to demonstrate it because I'm kind of hungry right now, but I can make my flesh reshape itself, and I can shape other people's flesh, and it sticks.
Thought as much. Do you know what that's called?
Not a clue.
I call that protein, and it's uncommon, to say the least.
Yeah. Somebody told me that I'd probably be best off saying I was Caitiff, and that's true, I don't know my sire.
That was wise. Has anybody given you an inclination as to what clan you might belong to?
People keep saying a word, and it's a word that could probably get me killed, is what they tell me. So I'm letting you in on something that could get me killed. And that word is Tzimitzi.
Yeah, thought as much.
Yeah. So I'm sure you can appreciate, as I slide an arm around his shoulders as we're driving side by side, not looking him in the eye, I'm sure you can appreciate the fact that I am kind of on the idealistic spectrum rather than the pragmatic one. because you know something that could get me killed. And we're going to walk into Elysium together and go our separate ways until the next mission. Unharmed. Sound cool?
Yeah, let's keep that between us for now.
Yeah. And I know you've got leverage on me, but shit, she was flying me up to throw me down. What else was I supposed to do?
And then, your words hanging on the air, this tentative alliance binding you for the time being. You press onwards into the bright lights of the CBD towards an uncertain fate. Behind you, in Derek's Beta, Sylvia, you sit there in the passenger seat, staring out the window as the building speeds by. Lily Harper, the thin blood, knows somebody in the Sabbat, somebody who has made their way to Melbourne, who escaped the onslaught in Brisbane and has entrenched themselves within kindred society, who is playing the Anarchs, the Second Inquisition, and the Camarilla against each other. For what purpose? You suspect that you may, deep down, know the answer. How does it make you feel, this feeling growing in the pit of your stomach, knowing that tonight you may have finally been given your first glimpse into what lies beyond Father Patrick's smiling facade?
Just kind of tired at this point, to be honest. I will see if Hope manages to do what she said she intended to. Otherwise, I am at the mercy of others.
And yet, one question remains. The flesh crafting, the portable hearts, the storage containers for Lily's thin blood formula. That is something that, as far as you're aware, Father Patrick, no, any La Sombra cannot do. Perhaps you are only scratching the surface. That was this week's session. You have completed Bloodied but Unbound, or received 3 experience points, and we will return next session for our brief stint in Elysium before we move into our next story entitled Criminal Intent.
Awesome, right?
You will play a short prelude in Elysium as we deal with the aftermath of Bloodied but Unbound, but then you will have a couple of weeks downtime. We'll decide what your downtime is in the session, or you can contact me before then if you have any ideas.
Yeah.
As I say, it's only going to be a couple of weeks. You won't be able to do much meaningful. But next story, Criminal Intent, is where it all comes together. Sylvia and Vincent may finally receive. They've been searching for pretty much all of their own lives, that leverage that will allow them to get the edge over their sires. Thank you everyone for the fun session.
Hell yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
That was Gilding the Lily, Part 2 of Bloodied but Unbowed, Episode 7 of Vampire War for the Second City, a Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition actual play podcast presented by DM Fiat. With me, Dale, as storyteller, Lost Demiurge as Hope, H. Quen as Sylvia, Paradox Mimic as Derek, and Ash as Vincent Merriweather. Music was created by Kevin MacLeod and is used with permission. Vampire the Masquerade and the World of Darkness are the registered trademarks and property of White Wolf Entertainment and Paradox Game Studios.